college dormitory. It's more than 16 occupants, and it does not provide individual cooking facilities. Okay. So I know my son, like I said, at Lawrence Tech, there is, he has to go over to the dining hall to get his meals. It is not set up an apartment style. He is, sharing a room with another individual. I know some of the rooms are quads. Some of them have even bigger settings than that. In the most cases, if you really want to tie it back to what's the definition of a dormitory or the requirements, is that when these dormitories were built, they submitted plans to the state of Michigan for these. So, and we run into that still from time to time as you all continue to expand, as you all continue to add living environments on campuses. We'll get that from time to time, that a college or a university will reach out to us. They say, hey, we're getting ready to build this building. And our plan review staff does a really good job of communicating back to you and saying, hey, thanks for submitting the plans, but what you're really building are apartments. They have the people have the ability to cook. And so they don't fall within the strict guidelines of what a dormitory is. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we have to look at is that there are 3 fire drills that have to occur. And if you look at the semesters, 1 drill has to occur in each semester when the dormitories are occupied. So if one of the questions that I get from time to time, well, we have a couple of our dorms that we fill up or we have partially occupied in the summertime. If you have folks that are living in a dorm, it's each semester, okay? Now, the system itself is built off of 2 semesters, right? The fall semester and the winter semester. For the reporting though, and I keep going back to this because I think it's important that maybe folks don't understand is that the drill that you're going to do this semester is actually your spring semester drill. And then remember, you have that staff education requirement when they come back in the fall, and then it's the fall semester. One of these drills has to occur between sunset and sunrise. Now, I know we have up here 10 p.m. to 5 p.m., but one of the things that we've had this happen where folks have said, well, what happens in, let's say, November when, or even in March now, prior to daylight savings time, that, it's getting dark a whole lot earlier in the evening. The whole idea is running this drill between sunset and sunrise. So we're giving you an example. If the sun set at 10 p.m. and the sun comes back up at 5 a.m., that's within the requirements, and one of those drills has to be done during that time. So is everybody, like I said, I'll open it up for questions at the end, but we want to make sure that folks understand when sunset to sunrise is, and realize that changes every day. So one of the things when you're documenting your drills in your buildings, you should be, getting good, we ran it on this date, we ran it at this time, and that way you can get documentation for those drills. Ann, next slide. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to share this with you, that it was one of the things that we have. That's the Bureau of Fire Services. That's the general number. I did give you the State Fire Marshal's phone number so that you have that. This is the email address that is dedicated to if you wanted to have a question, or even when you're submitting your forms, that they should go to the Lara Post-Secondary at Michigan.gov account. So at this point, I would like to open it up to for questions. So Ann, if you want to go ahead, and we've let everybody into the call. If you want to, what we can do, if you go down to where it says participants, if you expand that box, you open that up, you can actually raise your hand in there. So if you go down to the bottom where it says participants, and you go up to, you'll see a list of all the participants, you'll find yourself. If you raise your hand, then Ann will unmute you. So the first one I see, Jake Schuler, you have a question. Ann, would you unmute him, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jake.
Great. Thank you for doing this today. We do really appreciate that.
Okay. Where are you from? I think it's good just to kind of hear where people are from. So
yeah, Brad Baker and myself are from Olivet College. We've had some turnover, and we've been dealing with this, so we appreciate you guys taking the time again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Notification for drills. Do we need to let students know in advance, or are all these surprise?
Ideally, you should be surprising the students.
Okay.
I realize that, you have your RA staff, right? So, you're
Right.
going to kind of want to, but, maybe, the part of the whole training system, is saying to them, hey, listen, we're going to run these drills, this week or this time frame. But ideally, no, it shouldn't be announced.
Okay. And then if we have summer camps in dormitories, do we still need to drill if they're there less than 7 days?
I will say this, there's not a requirement that you have to do the drill, but I also would offer this, that there again, you got folks that are coming in, a lot of times they're younger, right? They're coming for sports camps and such. It's probably not a bad idea, maybe on that first night or whatever, so that at least if that alarm went off while they were sleeping in that building, they would know what it meant and they would know where they would go, So, and I think that's something that ideally, even when you look at sports camps, you should be talking with your staff about that, the camp counselors and such of, hey, listen, if we have a fire here tonight, this is what we need to do. So, having, all the kids are going to come out of the dorm. We need to be able to account for them. Right. And so, ideally, I hope that you never have a fire in any of your buildings. But if you did, the idea is it should be the first time they've heard the alarm going off. Right. Any other questions, Jake? Okay, great. Andy, you have any other hands up?
Yep, we got Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Kevin. Good to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you
Long
too.
time.
That has.
So I'm at the community college, and
Yep.
the issue that we have revolves around training before the academic year.
Right.
Our faculty come back on the Thursday before classes start, and they are swamped with meetings and they've been off all summer. So any email that they get prior to when they come back just simply gets deleted. So we try to send our training email out and our information out to faculty and staff that Friday before classes, but they still don't read it. Is there any potential of giving, a week, 2 weeks after the semester starts to get that training done so that it actually hits them versus an email that goes out and gets deleted?
Yeah, I think it's during that, that first couple of weeks that you're back, even on your drills, ideally we'd like you to run that drill as soon as you can, but we also know that you need to get some pieces in place as far as, within, and when I say within leadership, it's your staff, right? Of how they're going to lead the students. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, knowing that first week, it's going to take some time to get folks, getting that document out to them or reviewing what they're going to do.
So we don't have dorms, so we don't have the drill necessarily as much as it is the training to the faculty and staff. So I just know when I fill out the form, it's, what day did you do the training and when do classes start? And you're like, yeah, about that.
Yeah. Well, and also speaks to there's a window in there within 21 days too. So you have some time to react within that. Okay. But like I said, I do want to stress that, especially, and I know, Rebecca, you don't have dorms there at Grand Rapids Community College, but for the folks that do, the sooner the better. Like I said, I really want those kids to know what that sounds like and what that sound is. And ideally they're in their dorm room when it goes off. And I get it. People, step out or they're out doing activity or whatever. When you get ready to do your drills, you're not always going to get everybody, but trying to do it at a time where people can hear it and know what it is. So, Tom, are you able to? Is your audio open now?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Can you introduce yourself? And
certainly. My name is Tom Cochran. I'm administrative manager with the Bureau. I've been with the Bureau just under 2 years. My background, I had 30 years as a career firefighter for the city of Lansing, retiring as the fire chief. And, I really appreciate y'all. I mean, this turnout is terrific. I was really very pleased to see how well the turnout is. And again, as Kevin said, Lori is no longer with us. I know many of you know Lori, had dealt with her. I'll be the one for the most part that you'll be communicating with. So if at any time I can help, do not hesitate. I'd like to, if I may, give you my cell phone number. This is my work cell phone. Is 517-230-4855. And as Kevin said, we're here to help you navigate all this. So please do do not hesitate to reach out. And thanks again for being here today. And this is very important.
Right.
We have a
Any
couple more
other?
questions. Yep,
yeah.
we have some more questions.
Sure.
Mr. Mahalik? Oh,
You got to unmute yourself.
got to unmute, please. Oh, you're still muted. Try that now. Nope. Nope, you're still on, you have to unmute.
You actually have to, there should be a box that'll pop up that the host is asking you to unmute. Click that, and then you should be able to. How about now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, maybe you
Okay.
can put the question in the chat. I'm sorry, we're not, I could see you're trying to talk. You have
How
another one?
about Garth?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Garth, where are you from?
Lake Superior State University. I think, like Jake said, I'm relatively new to this position, so just making sure I'm understanding everything correctly. Mentioned the 3 drills with one being between sunset and sunrise. Can one of our semester drills be between sunset and sunrise, and that satisfies that requirement with only 2 drills, or does it have to be the 3 drills?
There has to be 3 drills, and one of them has to be, but you can pick when you do it, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And how about Jeff Cross?
Hello, my name's Jeff Cross. I'm from the Michigan School of Psychology. We're very, very small, so the question may have been answered, but I just want to make sure that I understand fully. We have no dorms, no kitchens, and we still train our staff. We know we need to do that. We do drills.
Right.
Are we required to do all 3 drills with no dormitories or anything? I want to make sure of that. For the reporting, we always turn in the reporting where we've only really, this year specifically, we only did 1 drill, but just because we've been closed since March.
Yeah, and that's been a lot with all of you. A lot of you, either, you stayed remote, or you didn't bring people back, or you didn't bring all your dorms back. So, Jeff, what we're really looking for is everyone needs to train their staff, just like even Rebecca from Grand Rapids Community College. They don't have any dorms either, but you need to train the staff. And then, the idea here is to make sure that they understand what will happen. And then it's a good idea to, to run a drill within all of your buildings. But remember, we're focusing mainly back on, we want to make sure the staff is trained, but we're focused back really on this is the post-secondary being colleges and then the dormitories.
Thank you.
Yoel?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Yoel Joa, Assistant Director for Residence Life at Oakland University. And I have a question about 2 populations of students that I don't know if we can do this or not. My staff is asking me to kind of, as a courtesy to these students, we have a growing number of students that have ESAs, which stands for emotional support animals. And then we have a number of students that live with us that have documented disabilities. Is it appropriate or acceptable to notify those pockets of students in advance of a fire drill to make sure that they are, that they're successful, or as a courtesy, or is that something we should not do?
Well, I think when you talk about being successful as a courtesy, the whole idea of running drills is to see, maybe you identify that within one building you have some folks that have some special needs, and it's going to take a little bit longer, so that you would know if you had a fire in those areas where you'd have to focus your efforts. So I think the whole idea of the unannounced, and I'll say this, like Tom, I've spent over 30 years in the fire service also, 30 of them with the city of Grand Rapids. And I can remember it was back in 2000, and there was, it was out on the East Coast. There was a fire within a dormitory, and there was a bunch of college students that died that night. And one of the things that was a big push by our chief at the time in Grand Rapids was to get out and do fire drills. Well, I was assigned to an engine company that was first due on Calvin College, and hopefully Calvin College is on here today. But, you know, one of the things that our chief was really wanted us to do was, hey, listen, that fire occurred in September, right? Folks are back to school. And I remember us being out there on some, and working with Calvin College, who worked with their security. But we also went out as an engine company and we did the drills. And, you know, we caught folks, you know, that were out of the dorms, right? They were over at the field house, they were working out, they were doing things. There was some accountability issues. So that came up. We also had folks that were, you know, using the showers and the bathrooms and different things at the time of the drill. And we understand that, you know, by the time somebody gets out of the shower, dries off, you know, gets clothes on and gets outside, that's, you know, there's going to be a delay in that. Do we want people to leave the building as quickly as possible? Absolutely. But we're not so hung up on, you know, we don't want a fire drill to last for 25 minutes either. Okay. But I think one of the things that drills have an opportunity to do is to show that, hey, we have to take this into consideration. Maybe we have somebody in a wheelchair in this room. And you know, those are good things to know so that, you know, maybe, you know, your RAs, maybe one RA focuses mainly on getting that person out. And we have that at the Bureau of Fire Services. One of our plan reviewers is in a wheelchair. And we had it written into our plan, our own fire drill, that somebody's going to go get Brian. And Brian does a pretty good job of getting himself out, but it's also a job to make sure that, you know, one of us within the plan. Now, that also means that, well, if Kevin Selmeyer is supposed to do it and I'm gone at a meeting somewhere, is Cochran going to do it, right? Or is Ann Searles going to do it? You know, those are some things that you kind of got to call, you know, you got to run the play on the day that it is, right? But we also want to make it very clear to the folks that are within our office that, you know, hey, somebody check on Brian. And here's the interesting thing. The last time we ran a drill and I went to get Brian was long gone because 2 or 3 other employees had already grabbed him, which was a good thing, right? Because why? Because we drilled and we had a plan. So that's what we're really looking for. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. That gives me some good, something to work with.
Service animals. And yes, we want them to bring the animals with them and they're not going to leave without them. I totally get that. Yeah. But we are looking for them to move out as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Scribble.
Hello, my name is Scott Crable. I'm Director of Campus Safety at Spring Arbor University. I have 2 quick questions, and I apologize if you might have answered one because I had some parking issues. The first question is, we do our fire drills currently right now, as most of you know, in Jackson County, I have 75 students that are in quarantine for COVID.
Yep.
And so I'm getting some little bit of pushback that do these students in isolation, are they required to go through the fire drill process? As a former firefighter of 26 years, I told them I don't think the fire distinguishes between COVID and not, but they were looking for an official, you know, so I'm looking for some horsepower to say, yeah, we have to do it. The fire marshal says we got to do it. And the other question is that if we actually have a fire alarm because of, you know, a bad motor or belt, or we actually do have a fire alarm and we do evacuate and do the whole drill, does that count as one of our drills for the year?
Ideally, an incident that you're running, you know, that's what we expect people to do. That's why we run the drills. So I'm not really looking to, you know, I get it. You would say, well, let's just take credit for that one. But that was a real incident. People did what they were supposed to do. So we're still looking to, you're required to run 3 drills. Okay. And I appreciate you with your fire background, and also share this as a Spring Arbor graduate. Keep up the good work you're doing there. And I want to make sure that, so, you know, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that those folks that are in quarantine, we do need to make sure that they're doing drills. Okay. And we need to make sure that those drills are occurring. And, you know, I'll get this call a lot. And that's one of the good things about having my phone number out there is I'll get a lot of people that are asking me, you know, do we need to run that drill? And the answer is yes. Of course, you want those people to stay away from all the other folks, right? So when they come out of that dormitory, and the same thing, anytime somebody's coming out of a Excuse me, I'm leaning over. My computer just told me that apparently I didn't have the cord plugged in and I don't want the show to end yet. So I'm taking care of that right now. One of the things, there we go. One of the things that we want to look at as folks are coming out, we're still looking even for the 6 feet distancing as we run the drills. We know that that's going to make drills take a little bit longer time. But the idea is that we want to see a good flow and good movement, okay? So.
Ryan Harrison.
Hi, my name is Ryan Harrison. I'm the Director of Housing for the College for Creative Studies in Detroit. I just wanted to make sure I have a firm understanding for the drill after sunset. We Google what time is sunset to make sure we have the timing and then go 20 minutes after that. Does that, but it's not typically dark. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in the spirit of the rule, and does that fall in line with you, or does it need to be very dark out? Just want to get a little more clarification.
No, Ryan, I like that. And I have a lot of people that will call me and they'll say, what is sunset? And I said, you know what, I would Google it too. What's the sunset for today? If you're past that time and you're running that drill, you're running it within that time frame. Okay. This is the other thing is I don't think you have to run drills in the middle of the night either in order to meet that requirement. Is everybody good on that? So in college, kids would probably rather have you run it in the evening than run it early in the morning too, right? So just kind of remembering some of that. But no, sunset to sunrise is based on the date of when you run the drill. So I hope that answers your question.
Tom, you had a question?
No, I just want to make sure everybody knows that, we're talking about quantity here, not quality, or I'm sorry, quality and not quantity. This isn't a race. This is about your staff, your RAs, your students knowing what to do in case that something like this happens. So again, it's, we're not looking to make sure everybody runs out of the building. We don't want anybody to get injured. It's about quality, and not how fast you can execute the drills. So just keep that in mind. Thank you. Thanks, Ann.
We have some questions in the chat also.
Okay. Hey, Ann, I'll take those in a second.
Okay.
I also wanted to share with you that we have some information that's on our website. We actually provide the form to you that you actually fill out. So for some of you that are new, I would recommend you getting on our website and taking a look at that form. And then once you look at the form, I think it gives you a whole idea of how you would complete that. And then it also gives you some of the basis that, I just want to re-emphasize this. One drill is required during the semester when the dormitories are occupied. Okay. And then one fire drill is required within 21 days of the start of the academic year. So Becky, I think that kind of goes back to your question. You've got that 21-day window to work within that. And then one of those drills has to be between sunset and sunrise. So, and I also know that a lot of times you'll run your drills, and we ran into this last year, right? Everything shut down in March, right? The governor shut things down and everybody went home, and you all didn't get in your spring drill. And we saw that. We saw that in last year's reporting. We're okay with that. The idea was, as you said, well, we'll run our drill in April, right? Before the semester ends. And that's fine. I get it why you don't run drills in January and February. But as folks came back to campus this January and February, I will say this, some of you reached out to me and you said, hey, we didn't have anybody live on campus in the fall, but we have people back now. And, I encourage you to run that, let's run that drill like it's the beginning of the academic year, because there again, it's a place where folks are living in a building maybe they never lived in before. I hope that a lot of these students would be focused on, how many doorways am I from the stairwell, and what's the closest stairwell, and how do I go down the stairwell, and when I go out the stairwell, where am I going to pop out on the outside of the building, and do I know where I'm at, right? All that good stuff, right? But the reality is they're focused on academics and being involved in being away from home for the first time too, right? So this is our opportunity to bring that back home. Ann, question from the chat, please.
Yes, I'm unclear as to the answer related to 3 drills when there are not dormitories on campus. Are 3 drills required?
Yeah, if you don't have dormitories, the requirement requires you to do the education with your staff. I would still encourage you to run drills, but the dormitory ones are specific to dormitories. Okay. Everybody clear on that? Does that make sense? Because like some of you do not have dorms. I know some of you, we've had conversations, you have very small schools. Some of you maybe had a dorm back in the day, but you no longer. It's pretty much a group commuting or coming in, and then they leave at the end of the day. The requirement to train staff, though, is a requirement for all colleges and universities.
Next one, will this presentation and recorded copy of Zoom be posted and available for viewing later?
Yeah, we can make this available. I think it's important that, but I also would encourage you both have Tom, or y'all have Tom and I's cell phone numbers. If you do have a question as things occur, reach out to us. I know some of you will say, well, we'll finish up this semester and we'll come back and regroup in the fall. And if you have questions at that point, reach out to us.
Mitch here at Cleary University. I'm new. We have one set of apartments and dorms with just a kitchenette. So in saying so, I only have to do a fire drills on the dorms? Or does he have to do them on both?
Well, I think one of the things that you might find out is that within the kitchenettes, I would ask you, please reach out to our plan review and find out how those buildings were opened up. If they were opened up as dormitories, even though they have a kitchenette, they still may fall within that definition and you may have to do the drills in that building. Okay.
Can you address the definition of staff? Is it all staff or instructional staff? Because there are different groups.
Should be all staff. It should be anybody who's coming into your buildings, your facilities that would be there, that if there was a fire to occur in the building, that they would know what was their role and what they need to do.
Okay. On drill nights, I coordinate with the dormitory RAs and or RDs, check the common area showers prior to the drill to let anyone who may be in there know they don't have to run out of the building in a towel.
Yeah, we're looking for folks to get dressed. I would agree with that. I will say this, I have run enough of these drills that I've been surprised. I'll also say this, I've gone on real calls to college dormitories and one of the things, realize that when somebody's brought outside that they're going to have to be outside in that weather for a little bit. So we're also, most of them, hey, grab a jacket on your way out the door too, right? But the idea is to exit as quickly as you can. And, I think that's one of the things in the training too, is emphasizing to folks to, you don't have to stand in the parking lot in a towel without a doubt.
Brian Fitzgerald has a question and he lost the ability to raise his hand. So I just asked him to unmute.
Hey there.
Yeah, Brian.
So when I was listening, you talked about RAs going to assist immobile residents or those that are in wheelchairs. I think that's a big, I don't think our risk managers, and I imagine some of the other schools would say the same, that they won't send RAs in to do that.
Okay.
I mean, is that a violation? We have a few that really can't, residents who really can't do anything. So we do have some options. And typically it's our police that do it.
Okay. I guess what I'm speaking to is that, I'll use this setting. If I'm an RA and I'm on a floor and I know that I have somebody going down there and knocking on the door and getting their attention and asking them if they're, all right.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that the role of an RA? I mean, the other
Well,
time. Right?
yes, and Jeanette Zalba's laughing. Other people are too. They're in the housing world because it has changed so much with, in the past, RAs would be around all the time. Now they're not.
Okay.
And we have hour requirements with them, as well as many other things. And I see some of the more of the housing people going, yeah.
I guess I'm asking, I would equate it to this. If I had somebody living in my home that, was experiencing a disability or they were a younger kid or whatever, I wouldn't run out front and stand out in the front yard wondering whether or not they're going to make it out of the building, right? I think one of the things is it's kind of that family that, looking out for one another of saying, hey, do you need any help? I understand if in your plan is you're going to have police officers go in and get them, but, there's going to be, it's the reflex time, and I can prove it based on data of the folks who are dying in residential fires in the state of Michigan. is that from the time they're getting notification, they're not getting all the way out of the building. But if I could educate them in a different way, or I could provide a resource to help them, I guess that's what I'm asking to do to your fullest, if you can, please.
Yeah, and we do that. I mean, it's, we do try, but it's, you know, when I hear that, and then kind of like the service animal and assistant animal,
Yeah.
I mean, from 10 years ago, it's just a whole different environment, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, if I throw out my housing experience and go back to when I lived in the halls, which was a long time ago, I mean, it's just vastly different. So, but thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Brian, where are you at? I think he's muted already.
I just unmuted him.
I am at Wayne State with Bill Kemp, and he keeps an eye on me.
Great job. Okay, good. Welcome.
But I was at some of the other schools that are here too, so.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
no,
what- The people that are laughing, that's the schools I was at.
that's the schools you're at. Okay. You know, and I'll share this, you know, this is a good opportunity. You know, we've got, you know, 101 of your peers, colleagues. What are some, I mean, the drill requirements are the drill requirements. The 3 drills are there.
Correct.
Okay. There isn't room, but what are some things that we can help you? Is it with messaging? Is it, you know, cause like I said, we're looking at community risk reduction as a statewide
Sure.
process. Is it helping with, you know, we have social media where we're putting out messages every week, but maybe we can target closer to the kids coming back to school with some of your help. Maybe we could get some of that messaging out there and you could steer the students towards, you know, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Snapchat. I know LinkedIn, MI prevention is, maybe there's some things there that could help you. There's a lot of times videos, there's posters, there's infographics. We definitely can dedicate some stuff towards the college world if that's what you think would help.
I think you'd have to get on TikTok.
Well, that could be the next one we explore.
I'm kidding. So, you know what? So we do meet, and we have a text group, Michigan Public Housing group, but it doesn't include all of the private colleges. But, you know, I don't mind reaching out and seeing if some of the challenges that are faced. I mean, I've been doing this since, you remember when we used to have 12 and then 8 fire drills.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I could probably reach out. I mean, anything with a student, the messaging, it's with anything. It's you can tell them anything over and over. And when something goes awry, it's like, you never told me. If I told them, they mean you didn't come to my door and explain it to me. So,
Right. Yep.
yeah, but yeah, let me think about that.
Okay.
And I've talked a lot with Tom too. He's helped me through my last, our last year of stuff. So, but again, thank you.
Frank Marcinowitz has a question.
Hey, Kevin, Frank Marcinkiewicz from the University of Michigan here.
Hey, Frank, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you again. Hey, thanks for your help this fall, by the way. Quick question about the paperwork. Can we assume that the paper hear back from you that everything is good?
Yes. Yep. If we don't receive the paperwork from you or there's something wrong with the paperwork, we'll definitely be reaching out to you.
There's a couple more questions in the chat.
Okay.
Please confirm need for drills each semester and whether or not we need one after sunset. We have no dormitories, daytime classes, only in 2 different buildings.
And they have no dormitories?
Right.
They need to train the staff. That's the requirement in there.
Okay. If dorms are empty in the summer time frame, do we need to have any extra drill in the one of the other 2 semesters to meet the 3 required drills per year?
No, you do not. It's three per year. And, you know, if you have, you know, folks living in the dorms in the summertime and you're only occupying, let's say 1 building, I think just to be conscious and be fire safe, it's a good idea to run a drill to make sure that, like I said, folks understand, you know, kind of maybe even the nuances to that building, right? I mean, I get it. People even move around from building to building as they do throughout their school, or their time in college, right? So please take some of that into consideration. But the 3 drills is 3 drills.
We've had a private security company take over the safety of the university. Should the director of the security team be listed as a primary contact for the university?
Yeah, I think that if that's a decision that's been made by the university, when you're filing the forms on that annual basis, that information is coming in on those forms.
For the staff training, are there specific training checklists that they should be following?
Well, I think one of the things that each one of the colleges and universities is different, as well as the dormitories are different. There's some general information that's out there on our website that they should definitely be considering into it. But I think you also have to take into, and maybe Brian, maybe you can help me out with that. You shared that you've been at a number of places. You've probably seen it a number of different ways. Have you seen a way that works better than others? I think that's the whole idea, the value of getting us all together here today too, is to be able to talk about, we're doing this and it's working well, or we're doing this and we're struggling. How do we help each other so that at the end, if there was to be a fire, that everyone gets out?
Last one, the previous answer to who must be trained confused them. The Act specifies instructional staff, but the answer was that all staff must be trained. Was the all staff answer best practice or a legal requirement?
Well, I know it says instructional staff in there, but if you think about that over in the dormitory side of the house, that's usually not your instructional staff, right? So you have dormitory requirements. We're looking at once a year you review with your staff. Like I said, I'm trying to reduce fire fatalities across the state of Michigan. I know I keep saying that, but it is an issue. Luckily, we haven't had a lot of fire deaths in Michigan dormitories, and I think we can align that with the fact that you're doing the drills. But I also don't want to let our guard down. So
that's all the questions.
Okay. Hey, Brian, can I unmute you for a minute again? Brian Fitzgerald.
Yes, sir.
So I kind of threw that back out to you. You say you've been at a number of places. We've got a group here of your fellow colleagues, seen some best practices, and this isn't to knock on anyone, right? I mean, this is more of, hey, what have you learned as you've evolved? Sounds like you've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah. So when I was at U of M, I was in facilities. We didn't do it, but at Eastern and Wayne State, I'm kind of in the housing area right now. I'm in housing facilities at Wayne State. It's just really changed because the students have changed and their demands. I mean, I would imagine some of my housing colleagues would even say students refuse sometimes to leave. In the old days when we would do when I was at Eastern, like we'd count windows to see who was like, because they would wave at the people like, so then we'd do conduct hearings with them, which here we don't mind if they're not following it. The other thing let me say is we're divided between residence halls and apartments. Right. So I would say I could, I don't know. I think Jeanette, who's been at, she's giving me the death look, mostly residence halls there. So she got there after I did, and they call that an upgrade. But she might have some comment to it. Like I said, I don't mind getting with you and gathering some from the housing components, from or at least the housing staff here. So would Jeanette talk?
I don't know. Will Jeanette talk?
Okay.
Yeah.
I just unmuted you, Jeanette.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Zalba, Eastern Michigan University. I think the questions on the table, there's a couple questions on the table. One of the things I want to note as far as training components, I think it would be nice to, from a housing lens, because I'm the director of housing, is to have a series of those components laid out. Very specifically, I worked at SUNY for 17 years, State University of New York in Buffalo, and SUNY as a statewide agency pressed down, what fire training looked like for all of us, probably included a video knowing them. But there certainly, I think, would be really value to us putting together, whether it be a checklist or a list, a recommended video, because particularly for people who, as staff are retiring and people who've been in this forever are shifting out, or smaller schools could have access to some of those materials so they don't have to make it up for themselves. But I would also concur with Brian that RAs are different, students are different. RAs don't want to touch people, right? Back in the day, indeed, as an RA, you would go and literally help a person get out of the building, among other things. But that is more and more difficult to help current students understand. Some of them are in a save yourself mentality. Yes, I will knock on that door and get out myself. And that's a little bit more of the experience I have in the most recent.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jeanette, for sharing that. And it sounds like there is a request for more of a checklist type thing. And I'm going to reach out to Kimberly Pashkowski, who is our manager of the MI prevention program here in the state. And let me share that number with you. So Kimberly's direct contact number, she'd be a good resource too for really anything fire education messaging, is 616-250-4147. Again, 616-250-4147. And I'll reach out to her and talk with her a little bit more, and we can coordinate, looking at, maybe we can have something kind of worked up for you by the time you come back in the fall, right? Because that's when the requirement is there to do that initial training, right? So, and then if you have any ideas of, how we can help with the messaging or even steering the students towards some of our social media type stuff, she's posting stuff twice a day on fire safety. And, we definitely are trying to make an impact across the state. So I do want to cover one last thing before the hour is gone, actually pretty quickly, is your required paperwork for this time period right now, which would be calendar year 21, is actually due on January 10th, 2022. So those of you that are new to this job, your reporting requirements on the form that we provide is that you have to send it. That's why we have the email box that we showed back on the PowerPoint, is that has to be turned in by January 10th. They're also within the statute, there is a process. If we do not receive the documentation or the drills do not get done, there is a penalty mechanism. And one of my main goals of doing the training today is that all of you turn in a form on January 10th or before 2022. We don't have to do a whole lot of follow-up. We definitely don't have to follow up with the process of issuing any citations because of a lack of compliance, okay? So that's one of the things that, and I will say this, there were some folks that were late this year. That's one of the reasons why I'm reaching out also. It is not if you want to do these, turn in the form, it's required. I'm required by statute to get one of these from every college or university, okay? So I have to be able to account for all of them. And this year, because it's the COVID year, because it was, let's face it, we're trying to sort out how we do things moving forward in this COVID world. There were no citations issued this year. I took the opportunity to go to my boss and say, rather than doing that, why don't we reach out and do this educational outreach with the stakeholders group? So that was the intent of today. Today, for those of you that did meet the requirement, thank you. For those of you that are doing all the drills, thank you. For those of you that have been able to make it work, if you want to think back in the last calendar year because of COVID and making it work during this calendar year, keep up the great work. But the reality is I hope that we get back to some normalcy sooner than later. And I just wanted to make sure that you understand what the requirements are within this statute. Is everybody good on that? Was it worth your time? I guess that's what I would also, is this something that, maybe we should be doing, would it be helpful to maybe do the end of August to kind of get this group together and kind of have a talk, or is that the crazy time of the year and you go, Kevin, I don't have time to go to a meeting then? Think about that. Send us an email if you have some thoughts on that. Okay. But
Kevin, we have another question here
Yeah.
also. Jake?
Thinking of the group mentality here. I've seen it done a few different ways. What do you have your RA staff do when an alarm sounds? Ours is get out of the building, make sure, you know, if you can help people out, but we don't go around and knock or anything like that like I used to do when I was an RA. So I was just curious what best practices among the group.
Anybody want to help Jake out with suggestions? Or some of you, do they door knock? I see some hand waving. I think it's Jake. I guess the beauty of it is now you're at Olivet, right? Is if you want to have a door knocking requirement as they're clearing the floor, that I'm okay with that. If you know, the whole idea here is that hopefully the alarms going off in the building, everybody can hear it. You know, that's one of the reasons of running drills too. That's sometimes how we find out that a system isn't working too, right? Hey, we went over to the Selmeyer Hall, I flipped the lever and nothing happened. Oh crap, we didn't know that, right? So, you know, that's one of the things of doing the drills also, is to make sure that the alarm systems within the buildings function as they're intended to.
So our RAs do on the way out knock, but I have one building. Kevin, or where are you, in Lansing right now?
I'm actually over near Grand Rapids, but
okay. This building is so big that it'd be like me walking from Detroit there. It is huge.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, there's other ones in the state of Michigan, Bursley at Michigan and
right
at U of M. So we do say, please knock on your way out, try to hit and ask if people need assistance. One thing we're also trying to do is, again, getting back to people with different abilities, we try to go lower in their area of refuge.
Yep.
But yeah, it's, yeah, we do ask the RAs, so.
Yeah. No, and that's good. And, you know, that brings up a very valid point of, you know, because of some people with needs, where are their areas of refuge? And then it also is that passing it on to the fire department, if this was the real deal, right? Of where are people taking that refuge, but getting it, you know, people could be out of the building at the time that goes down too, right? Going to class and different things too. So that's one thing about the fire service. We, and I know a lot of you have law enforcement backgrounds too. You go to the scene, you size it up, you get an idea of what you're dealing with, and then you come up with a solution on how you're going to solve the problem.
I would say for a lot of us, you use your building staff to get people out and away from the building to their gathering space. You know, and to take a floor roster with them or like that. But I would say if I have 20 RAs in a building, and again, I'm not the housing and residence life person here. If we had 20 at say, and it went off at 11, I would say maybe 6 or 7 of the RAs would be there, maybe more.
Yeah.
But yeah, different world.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Tom had a comment also.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I'm going to be doing an informal poll later with Kevin doing TikTok video for getting the message out. So I might be sending that out to you.
Glad to hear that, Tom, you'll be taking over the social messaging for the Bureau of Fire Services. And I look forward to you explaining how we can use TikTok to our most effectiveness out in the world with fire safety. So I know we're joking about that a little bit, but you know, Brian, I think you bring it up. I think Jeanette, I heard it from you too. How the kids are changing, right? The way they communicate, the way they connect, you know, and I guess the part that hasn't changed is probably the alarm systems, but you're even starting to see some changes in some of that. And so, you know, what technology is going to, you know, come out in the future, we'll see. But I appreciate what you're all doing. And, you know, I appreciate Tom even bringing up, that's a good idea though, on some stuff of polling you a little more in the future. Don't be shy. You have that email box. Please, you know, if you have thoughts, ideas, concerns, share them with us, and we'll do our best to incorporate that so that at the end of the day, I want 0 fatalities in college dorms across the state. I'd like to keep that intact. And you know, historically, there's been some bad things that have happened at colleges and universities, and that's not a knock on colleges and universities. Just from the fire safety side of it, it tells us that we need to step up our game a little bit and to remind people so that we don't have these repeats, right? Nobody wants that on their watch. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for, and I look forward to getting together again with this group. And if you have any questions, Tom Cochran or myself, we're here to help. And please don't forget to submit your form by January 10th of 2022. All right. Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Stay healthy.